Now, how you expect I was going to get this grass mowed, woman, with you pesticatting around in my way like this, huh?
That ain't none of my business, black man. I've got work to do.
Work, work, work. Land's sake, this here place ain't had such a going over since Adam ate the apple. All on account of one single old foreign lady.
Yeah, Sam, your mouth make motion, but it don't say nothing. Foreign lady. This ain't no foreign lady that's a coming to visit the missus. This is a ducat.
Sis Wedge?
A ducat. English ducat. That's what she is. No wonder the missus want the house spick and span. Ain't no ducats been in Millville ever before.
Samuel!
Never mind that Dookies talk, woman. That's the missus a calling.
Yeah, you better get along with this.
Wait till I get my uniform fixed.
Samuel!
Yeah, I was coming, Mrs. Smith. I was coming. Yeah, sir, Mrs. Smith. Here he is.
Sam, how many times do I have to tell you the name is not Smith, it's Smythe?
Oh, doggone. Well, I'll remember that from now on as me kills me, Mrs. Smith.
Sam. Oh, never mind. What about the car?
Oh, I forgot to tell you, ma'am. The man at the garage said there ain't no chance of patching up that old car for 2 weeks at least.
What?
No, ma'am. We ain't going to drive that car on this trip, ma'am.
Sam, you don't know what you're saying. We have to drive the car.
Well, the only way we can make a trip in that car, ma'am, is to buy a couple of mules to pull it.
But what are we going to do?
Well, I've got that all fixed, ma'am. The man at the garage is going to lend us a brand new Ford V8 sedan for the trip.
What did you say?
Yeah, he said as long as we drive that old rattle trap of ours, we going to be the best customers for gas, oil, and repairs that he got. So he said that
Ask the Dutchess of Ayleshire to ride 300 miles in a Ford? Oh, that's utterly absurd. Oh, my goodness, why did our car have to choose this particular moment for breaking down?
What's the matter, dear?
Matter? Oh, Henry, we're ruined. Our car has broken down.
But, dear, that's nothing new. I've been telling you for a year we ought to trade it in on a new car we could afford to drive.
Don't talk nonsense, Henry. You're just as bad as Sam. You know what he suggested? That we ask the Duchess of Ayleshire to drive all the way to the city in a Ford.
That's a swell idea. We'll trade our old car in as down payment on a new V8 and...
Henry, be quiet. Can't you understand that she's not only a duchess, but a famous lecturer as well? Can't you understand what an honor it was for me to be appointed by the New Age Literary Society to drive her to the city after her lecture here? And can't you see that our whole social position in Millville depends on being able to provide suitable transportation? Even our big car is hardly good enough. And then you suggest, oh, if you only had some sense.
Well, if you'd been smart, you'd have hired Will Rogers. He'd have ridden a horse.
Oh, must you joke at a time like this? Henry, can't you see that, the best chance in our lives to amount to something socially here in Millville? And now it's ruined.
Nonsense. Now, be reasonable. Sam's suggestion is a perfectly sensible way out. Personally, I'd rather drive a new Ford V8 than any car I know. It's fast, it's comfortable, it's easy to handle, and it's dependable.
Yes, sir.
Oh, be still. A duchess is used to the best of everything from childhood on. She's used to expensive, high-priced cars. What would she think of us if we asked her to drive in a Ford? Oh, it's just too much.
Hey, those new Ford V8s are good enough for a duchess or a countess or a queen.
Stop talking and do something.
But, dear, what can I do? Well, I can't pull an automobile out of a hat.
If you were any kind of a husband at all, oh, get out of my way. I'll have to do it myself.
But what are you going to do, dear?
I'm going to borrow a car, that's what. It's humiliating, but I'll have to do it. And do it quick, too. The train will be here in an hour.
But where are you going to borrow one?
I don't know. I'm going to try Mrs. Oswald first. She's the richest woman in town. She ought to have a car that would do. Operator, give me 3131. Thank you. Mrs. Oswald, please. Oh, hello, Mrs. Oswald. This is Mrs. H. Wellington Smythe. Smythe calling, yes. Mrs. Oswald, a terrible thing has happened. The Duchess of Ayleshire is visiting us, and our car,
Oh, I quite understand, Mrs. Smythe. Of course you may have our car. It's a brand new Ford V8 touring sedan. And...
What? A Ford V8, but Mrs. Oswald. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I can't understand it. Mrs. Oswald has a Ford V8. Oh, what'll I tell her now?
Well, you see?
Oh, be quiet. I'm so sorry I troubled you, Mrs. Oswald. Something's just happened, and now we won't need your car after all.
Well, of all the half-witted, stubborn...
Hush. I know. I'll call up Mrs. Harry.
Hello? Yes, this is Mrs. Harris. Oh, yes, Mrs. Miles. Why, you poor dear. Of course you may. And our car is so comfortable on long trips, too. Yes, and so easy to drive. Yes, it's standing at the curb now, and I'll send it right over. It's one of these new Ford V8s. Hello? Hello? Operator? That's funny. You hung up.
Oh, Doris, it's just lovely, that's all. It's far the most thrilling car I ever owned. I'm just in love with it.
Phone call for you, Priscilla.
Thank you. Oh, be back in a jiffy, girls. Stick around. Yes? Oh, yes, Mrs. Miles. Yes, I read about it in the papers. Of course you may. But Mother's out of town, but you can use her car. Or you can use mine, whichever you prefer. Hers is a touring sedan, and mine's a convertible coupe. Oh, they're both Ford V8s.
Henry, we're ruined. I've called everyone I know, and it's almost time for her to arrive. We're just where we started.
Well, why don't you start over again by accepting that Ford the garage offered to lend you in the first place?
We don't have to go over all that again. Oh, Henry, you've got to think of some way out. If you don't, I don't know what I shall do. Something desperate, that's what. In any case, I shall never be able to hold up my head again in Melville.
But, dear, if you'd only be sensible...
Oh, keep quiet and let me think.
Now, why couldn't Mrs. Smythe be at, Mr. Smythe?
Go away, Sam.
Yeah, you don't want to see this telegram, then?
Telegram?
Yeah, some boy just left it.
Sam, give it to me.
What is it, dear?
I don't know. I suppose it's bad news of some kind. Oh, that won't matter. Nothing could bother me now. Oh, Henry. Henry, we're saved.
What's happened, dear?
Oh, what a relief.
What's happened?
Oh, what luck. Listen. I'm wiring from next town, so we'll arrive almost as soon as message. As I'm coming by motor car, so don't meet train. Stop. Hope this is convenient. Stop. Best regards, Ailshire. Oh, Henry, we're saved.
You mean because she's driving her own car?
Of course. Now we won't have to borrow one. And we'd better go out on the veranda, too. She says arriving almost as soon as message, and we want to be there to welcome her. Sam, come out and help with the luggage.
Yas'm.
You don't know how relieved I feel. My, what a nightmare. But it's all over now.
Yes, or else just beginning.
Oh, my goodness. Here she comes now. Do I look all right, Henry? How is my hair? Is my nose shiny? Oh, I'm so thrilled. And just look at that car. Isn't it a beauty? Probably a foreign car of some kind. What's the matter, Sam?
Foreign car. Well, that's a hot one, that is. That's the very same kind of a Ford V8 the garage man was going to lend you.
That's impossible. I guess I know foreign cars when I see them.
That's all right, ma'am. Right now you is seeing a Ford V8.
Hello. I was told that this is the J. Wellington Smythe residence. Yes, this is Smythe Manor. I'm Dorothy Angdon.
Oh, didn't you get my wire?
Dorothy Angdon? I'm sorry, my dear, but you must have the wrong house. We were expecting a Dutchess. But I am the Duchess. I should have said Dorothy Louise Margaret de Lançon de Montmorency, 5th Duchess of Ailshire. Then you are the Duchess?
Why, of course.
And this is your car, the one you wired about?
Why, yes. One of your American Ford V8.
Oh,
Oh, my goodness. Why, what's the matter?
why, nothing. I just felt a little faint.
It's nothing, Duchess. Mrs. Smythe just isn't used to surprises. And so he says to the judge, he says, "But, Your Honor, that was no lady, that was my wife."
Why, say, that's ripping. I must remember that. How did it go? That was no lady. What did he say her name was?
It's nice of you, Your Grace, to be so tolerant of our coarse American humor. But hadn't we best be leaving for the lecture?
Now, just a second, Martha. I know another one about two Irishmen named...
Splendid. Only it is late. I'm afraid we really must be popping.
all right, I'll save that until you get back.
Well, it's okay to start any old time, ma'am.
Sam, what did I tell you?
No, I mean the car. I'm at the door, madam.
Don't you want Sam to drive us down, Your Grace?
I should say not. Why, half the fun of owning this car is the thrill of driving it. Hop in here, Mrs. Smythe. I'll go round.
This is really a very lovely car.
As I believe you Americans say, you're telling me, Mrs. Smythe.
Why, no, whether you know it or not, you're telling me. Here we are. And since we're a little late, I'm sure everyone will be ready to start. It is indeed with pleasure that I introduce to you Her Grace the 5th Duchess of Ayrshire, who will address us on the subject of my impressions of the new American democracy.
Good evening, ladies. My travels in America have shown me a new phase of democracy which had previously escaped me. It is true that absolute equality is still far from achievement, yet few of us realize what tremendous advances have been made and are being made to assure wider, fuller, happier lives for all mankind. And the new march forward is being led not by government nor by philosophy, but by science, invention, and industry. Science, which pries into the hidden secrets of nature and gives its knowledge to the world as a precious gift to all mankind. Invention, which translates the secrets of science into forms of practical value to the world. Industry, which begins where invention leaves off, producing articles of necessity and value by the millions, employing millions, in order that the blessings of science and invention may be brought to mankind in ever-widening circles. Let me illustrate what I mean by reference to personal experience. When I came to America, I decided to buy an automobile and make my lecture tour by motor instead of by rail. Of course, for a trip which will run into thousands of miles, I needed a good motor car. I discovered that your American ingenuity and enterprise had made the payment of a high price not only unnecessary, but unbusinesslike. And for women as well as men, bad business is bad form. Smart women the world over today are as proud of their business judgment as they are of their good breeding and social training. I was a guest in some of the finest homes in your country. I talked with women who could afford to pay any price for an automobile, yet many were driving, particularly as their personal cars, an automobile priced so low that it can be afforded by anyone who can afford an automobile at all. Now, to me, the miracle is not that such a car can be made, but that the advantages of owning such a car can be so widely distributed. And not automobiles alone, but other modern products show this trend in the life of the world.
Ladies, while the Duchess continues her talk to the ladies of the society, we should like to interrupt to amplify one or two statements she has already made. She said that she talked with American women who could afford to pay any price for an automobile. Yet many were driving, particularly as their personal cars, an automobile priced so low that it can be purchased by anyone who can afford an automobile at all. Even the Duchess, whose wide travels make her a very well-informed woman indeed, is not as well qualified as we are to tell you just how much truth there is in the statement she has just made. Let us introduce to you, through the medium of this picture story, just a few of the women the Duchess might have had in mind. Starting with the younger generation, this is Miss Polly Nashold, one of New Haven, Connecticut's most socially prominent young ladies. Of course, any girl living in New Haven needs a smart-looking car, and we're willing to bet the college boys take notice when Miss Nashold drives by the Yale campus in this one. Miss Nashold is as enthusiastic as the Duchess about her new Ford V8. She was nice enough to write us a letter in which she says,
I just can't speak too highly of this magnificent 1935 V8 motor car. Its riding qualities, pickup, and acceleration are superb.
this picture introduces Miss Mary Wells of Baltimore, Maryland, and the picture itself tells a story of beauty and refinement more impressive than words. Miss Wells is a member of that class of women to whom the Duchess referred, used to driving larger, more expensive cars, and this is her first Ford V8. Therefore, you'll be as interested as we were in what she told us about her first experience with this modern motor car.
I have never owned a small car before, and since buying my Ford, feel that it outperforms any other car that I have ever had. I am more than pleased with the style, the riding comfort, and the motor. I know it will be a long time before I would buy anything but a Ford.
Down in Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Louisa Roberts, daughter of the Assistant Treasurer of the United States and an Olympic swimming champion, is another devoted Ford V8 enthusiast. Miss Roberts' new Ford V8 is the envy of all her friends, and she says,
It's so beautifully styled, so luxurious, so easy to handle, and so comfortable.
way down yonder in New Orleans, this lively daughter of the South, and incidentally of one of the most important newspaper publishers and financiers of the South, frames her beauty in the luxurious setting provided by the Ford V8. She is Miss Frances Howard, and her opinion is,
The swanky lines and alert performance of my new Ford V8 convertible sedan make it the outstanding car in any traffic line.
girls whose names begin with Mrs. instead of Miss are just as enthusiastic as their younger sisters when the Ford V8 is discussed. This is Mrs. Richard C. Riggs of Mannerdale Farms, Maryland. And in speaking of her new car, Mrs. Riggs tells us,
Before I bought my new Ford sedan, I drove a larger car. I can truthfully say my Ford surpasses my large car in every way. It has more power, pickup, and go to it. It is really a comfortable car, so easy to drive in traffic and to park, and so economical in gas consumption.
and here is Mrs. John Westbrook of Danville, Virginia. The safety features of the Ford V8 particularly appeal to her. Mrs. Westbrook says,
I love this Ford V8 because I feel so safe in it. Its brakes are easy to apply, smooth and efficient. It accelerates so fast it just seems to jump out of harm's way. And if anything should happen, I know the safety sealed body and safety glass will protect me.
the lovely young wife of the mayor of an important city must keep up appearances. So Mrs. Harmon W. Peary, wife of Ogden, Utah's mayor, drives a Ford V8 and tells us,
I must tell you how enthusiastic I am about my new 1935 Ford V8 sedan. It not only has exceptional riding qualities, but it is also very easy to handle in traffic. I can now understand the Ford car's popularity with women drivers.
another woman who has to keep up appearances is Mrs. Rita Boucher, wife of the American consul in Rome. She sets the fashion for the smart women members of the diplomatic set by being seen everywhere in this shiny and lovely Ford V8 sedan. We've heard from debutantes and young matrons, but what they say about the Ford V8 just matches what is said by America's up-to-the-minute businesswomen. Here's just one representative, Miss Emily Kreisel, who is in charge of all the women employees of the Nebraska State Capitol at Lincoln. Miss Kreisel tells us,
Riding ease, steering control, smooth engine performance, quick response in traffic, economy of operation and smartness of appointment are only a few of the many features which meet my approval in the Ford V8.
Miss Charlotte Bishop of the American Journal of Science adds,
The Ford of today has everything you want and makes one proud to be its owner.
Miss Amelia F. Pyer, assistant librarian of the Madison, Wisconsin Public Library, echoes the sentiments of her younger colleagues with,
I have just acquired a new V8 coupe, and I'm greatly pleased with it.
We shall now introduce you rapidly to three more friends of the Ford V8 before returning to Mrs. Smythe and the Dutchess at the lecture hall. Mrs. Alfred Zuger is the state chairman of the Department of Junior Membership for the North Dakota Federation of Women's Clubs. Mrs. Zuger says,
I have owned and driven high-priced cars for 19 years, and I never trusted a smaller car. Now I drive a Ford V8, and can conscientiously recommend it to all my friends as the best car money can buy.
in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Mrs. Galena P. Strockman is an outstanding personality because of her many charities, her club work, and her social activities. It means something when a woman like her says,
The Ford V8 is certainly a car built for women. It handles so easily in traffic and parking, and it's so comfortable on the road. It's a real pleasure to be an owner of a Ford V8.
and last but not least, may we introduce Mrs. John A. C., wife of a prominent banker of Joplin, Missouri. This gracious lady has written us,
It affords me great pleasure to tell you how delighted I am with my new Ford V8. Truly, from the standpoint of comfort and ease of handling, it's far more satisfactory than my former car, which cost $3,500.
Now, we could go on for a long time telling you about other smart, modern women of all ages who, as the Duchess told you, have discovered that the Ford V8 is the smartest car for women you can buy at any price. But the Duchess must be nearing the conclusion of her talk. So let's return to the hall and tune back in on our story.
That is what I mean when I say that modern industry is leading the way to the true democracy. Again, using the automobile as an example. Isn't it a wonderful and a thrilling thing that a car which meets the exacting demands of the very rich can yet be placed within the reach of those millions who must buy wisely and thoughtfully? There's something distinctively American in the fact that an automobile which is perfectly at home in the driveway of a Long Island manor is equally at home at the curve of a modest dwelling. That the same car a dazzling debutante chooses for its beauty, its style, its quality and refinement is chosen by the thrifty young housewife for its economy, its safety, and its dependability. That the same car which meets youth's demands for beauty, speed, style, and verve meets old age's demands for comfort and security. Perhaps in this country you're so accustomed to these things that you do not pause to consider their deeper significance. But to me, a foreigner, these facts stand out like a signpost for the future. Any civilization which gives so much beauty and joy of living to so many is headed in the right direction. And to me, it seems that that direction is one which will lead the whole of mankind into a new era of hope and progress and true democracy. Thank you.
Your Grace, I'm not exaggerating in the least when I say that your talk has been by far the most inspiring and hopeful ever delivered to our society.
Oh, it's so good of you to say that.
I really mean it. Your whole visit has opened my eyes in several ways. For instance, I didn't realize what a beautiful car the Ford V8 is until you drove me in yours this evening. And I didn't realize until I heard your talk that it had achieved so much social distinction.
Well, the smartest women I know are driving them, if that's what you mean.
That's exactly what I mean. I wish I had been the first to drive the new Ford V8 in Millville, but since I can't be smarter than the others, at least I can be just as smart. I wonder if you'd do me a favor.
Why, of course.
I wonder if you would go down with me in the morning to help me pick out my new car.
What's that you all saying, ma'am?
Yes, Sam, from now on, you're going to have a new car to chauffeur. That is, if I ever get tired of driving it myself.
Hot dog, man. Happy days is here again. Oh, wait till Mr. Smythe here. He's going to be plumb percolated with enjoyment.
What's that about me, Sam?
Mr. Smythe, there's going to be a new Ford V8 in the family.
Is that true, Martha?
Yes, it is, Henry.
Hot diggity.